legally binding how much it costs.
I'm going to say,
But it's not likely that we could legally stop them unless something new. The one thing that's new is
I don't know, it feeds back like that.
which has somebody.
I've never been checked out on the new system, so I don't know.
okay,
It
feeds
feeds
your
back like
attention,
that.
it's, you know, T minus
seen it do that
6
before.
minutes before. Let's see. So we can cover the hospitality things. There's bathrooms back here if anybody needs to use them. I have coffee over there with real milk for the dairy industry, not creamer. But there's not enough for everybody, so just hardcore, okay? Come on in, there's still seats in here. So yeah, I promised I would return the room to the way it is. I had ideas about using microphones. We've tried twice and I can't figure it out. Feedback's there, so bear with us. We're not going to use electronic amplification. People want to speak. I'm going to sit right there, take comments. I figure I can hear you here. I'm getting old, but not that old. Gee, what else? Oh, and I'm here to apologize for all the confusion, but somebody did have the paper. I had to look up. We said it was 6, so now it's 5 minutes and counting. Come on in, guys. There's more chairs. If you need more chairs, we can put them on. So, and part of that confusion is my fault, so just go ahead and blame all the confusion on me. What the heck? I'm your new Trinity County Ag Commissioner, Senior Weights and Measures. My name is Joe Morio. This tonight here, there was a clear need for the public to want to make comments. So under the guise of the weed management area group, which I'm agreed to host tonight or chair tonight, but we don't have any action items for that group. So I mean, if we had enough members, we could have that part. The agenda is very simple. I'm to open the meeting. I'm going to turn it over at some point to Caltrans for the overview of veg management here in Trinity County on state highway easements. We definitely need more chairs. So I gave up any hope of sitting up there with the dais.
Hey Joe, when we're out of chairs, we're on chairs. When we're out of chairs, we're on chairs.
Okay, well, I guess there's still, I see a couple of them open, and there's some stacked up there. We have to leave the room the way it is, and they are particular about the aisles. The aisles must stay the way they are. So, people keep coming. You told me to keep that aisle open. So you can put another row up here though. I just got to return it back to 5 rows of 4 in each. Yes, yes, please. Keep the aisles open, the middle open. Okay. Want to make a roll? Roll that By the way, it's only 15 years up. As much as we relate to, I found as much as we relate to this map has both.
There's 4 seats right there.
Yeah, I have 1 minute left before I'm open or start the whole thing. So come on in and get settled. We only got rooms from 6 to 7.
I didn't look
All right, it's 6 o'clock. So, as you saw in the paper, this is a meeting hosted by the Weed Management Group, which I agreed to chair. My name is Joe Morio. I'm your new Trinity County Ag Commissioner, Sealer Weights and Measures. The mics don't work. I'm going to take comments sitting right there, so come up to here when called upon. But before we even get to that part, I have to do the official. The microphones don't work. Number one, call a special meeting to order at 6 p.m. Here's where we're in good order. I wondered if the room was going to be big enough, and I came pretty close. So, item 2, overview of vegetation management on the state highways, Caltrans. We want to launch right into it, or am I forgetting some perfunctory function? I again want to apologize for the confusion. So with that, this is Tom March from Caltrans.
Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. I appreciate every one of you showing up. I want to recognize CAL FIRE and CHP as the first responders, and thank you for what you guys do out there. To get you a little background about who I am, I grew up outside of Berkeley. I went to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and I earned my degree in horticulture. I moved to North State, Reading, in 2000. My 2 kids, my wife. Previously worked for City of Reading Parks, as an arborist, the pest control advisor, and their aquatic pool operator, making sure things are safe for the public. Recently I came to Caltrans, the landscape specialist, to advise our roadway, the landscape, and our tree crews on sensitive issues. Submit work safety projects and improve the well-being of our workers. I'm also the restoration coordinator and water manager to ensure that the water quality is up to standards. Work with many different agencies, U.S. Forest Service, BLM, on the tree mortality that we've recently gone through, on tree removals, State Water Resource Control Board for waste discharge at our rest areas, as well as water quality with the Department of Drinking Water, making sure our water is up to the quality. I work with California Fish and Wildlife, recently here at East River Creek, where we had a homeless problem for days, and we couldn't get in there without their approval to remove vegetation. I've also worked with many landowners, private, and which brings me here today. Caltrans District 2 personnel are here to provide you information on our upcoming plan for vegetation control activities in North State highways in Trinity County. I understand this is a sensitive topic, so therefore, our presentation will have 30 minutes for public comment. In order to allow for individuals to provide their comment, we ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes and under. In the event that you are unable to comment during that time frame, or time frame is insufficient, we have provided comment cards for you to submit and present, which also has our email address for our PIO, Public Information Office. We will review our comments and take them into consideration as we proceed forward with our vegetation control activities. Herbicides have not been used on public lands in Trinity County along state highways since the early 80s. In 2002, Caltrans entered into a memorandum of understanding with Trinity County Noxious Weed Management Area Group regarding not spraying along highways and utilizing only mechanical and labor-based vegetation control. The MOU has since lapsed. With weighted emphasis on vegetation control management, Caltrans intends to apply herbicides at selected locations along state highways in Trinity County. Caltrans is currently working with CAL FIRE and Trinity County Ag Commissioner to determine those locations. Proposed herbicides will be used for noxious weed control to supplement the mechanical and manual vegetation control, as it would reduce the time and intensities committed for maintenance crews. Caltrans controls
That was the third strike.
There you go.
We'd use them if they were working, sorry.
I appreciate you breaking it up. Easy attention. Caltrans controls vegetation on state highways. We use it to maintain clear recovery zones so cars can safely pull over during an accident or out of control. Around bridge supports for inspections. Remove poison oaks so our guys don't get rashes. Visibility of traffic devices. We use it also to control noxious weeds, prevent erosion, limit stormwater pollution, and preserve sensitive species and reduce risk. Caltrans too has developed an annual vegetation control plan and considers the risk to environment, details such as changing vegetation types along roadway edges, differing adjacent land uses, highway configurations, and expected annual rainfall will lead into vegetation growth. Excuse me for a minute. We tend to begin by treating 4-foot strips adjacent to paved edges at high hazard spot locations along State Route 299 from Buckhorn Summit to the base of Oregon Mountain, excluding U.S. Forest Service and BLM locations. This includes spot locations for controlling and preventing the spread of noxious weeds such as broom and poison oak. To protect themselves, the public, and the environment, our applicators are supervised by state certified applicators and are trained annually of best management practices, or BMPs. BMPs that are developed by UC Davis IPM program, Oregon State University Agriculture Extension, and UC Cooperative Extension. Some of our best management practices include spray buffers, like not spraying within 20 feet of standing or running water, avoiding sensitive areas, such as bus stops and schools, preventing drift by not spraying during high winds or adding control drift additives. We also prevent runoff by not applying within 24 hours of a rain event. Any Caltrans herbicide application requires a pesticide use recommendation written by a state licensed pest control advisor, myself, who must have a college degree in the study of agriculture. Our application equipment utilizes computer controls, techniques for efficient and appropriate safe methods, and have been also developed by UC Davis, Oregon State, and the Cooperative Extension Services. We also maintain specific environmentally sensitive areas lists, listing protected, endangered, threatened plants, species, and Native American cultural sites, created from biological and cultural databases. Safety is Caltrans' top priority, and the residents, Caltrans employees, and the environment are forefront of that decision. But also, our first responders benefit from this priority. Caltrans has struggled for many years to keep up with the vegetation management dynamics without the use of herbicides in this area. However, due to the overgrowth vegetation, Caltrans needs to reevaluate and change our procedures. Although Caltrans is evaluating the most appropriate vegetation control, herbicides have been deemed necessary to maintain overgrown weeds in the area. I appreciate all you being here, and I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Tom. Well, I guess if we have no objections, I guess we can start taking comment. It's only 9 minutes. Is anybody else or any other presentations?
Excuse me, did you mention the name of the herbicide that you would be using?
We'll be using state-approved materials that are also Caltrans approved.
What's the name?
We have not decided on what we are using yet. It's still a decision.
We don't trust a lot of them, we know about it.
So we're and I'm just gonna try to help Tom answer some of these questions. And we're gonna try to do that, but we're probably gonna take more comments and that sort of thing than we are questions, because we are just beginning this and we're going through and we're working with you to try to develop what we can. So we may not know everything. So we want to hear your comments and your questions, but be aware that we may not be able to answer all of them. So we may defer them to a later date, and we'll take them into review.
Will they be published later, the answers to the questions?
Pardon me?
Will the answers to the comments be published somewhere later?
I doubt we'll be able to get to every one of them.
All right, thank you.
What about the answers to these questions?
I don't know those yet. So, now we have a gentleman at the podium, if you'd like to start.
My name is Richard Cole. I'm with the Trinity County Fish and Game Advisory Commission. Tom. And I appreciate, by the way, your agreement to come up to our meeting, even though if anyone's read the paper, they know our meeting didn't quite work out as planned. Couple of questions. Since at least Roundup is in the mix, and its main ingredient glyphosate.
A little louder, please.
Okay.
Maybe turn around, yeah,
okay.
there you go. Doesn't
All right.
the microphones work?
Since Roundup is apparently still in the mix, is Caltrans aware that as of last year, the state has classified glyphosate as a carcinogen?
We've known that from the International Agency of Cancer Research, that they have put that on the list as well as other items.
Now, once that was listed, did you then go back over all of the studies and all of these procedures that you were doing with a new consideration for the fact that this is now classified as a carcinogen here in California?
This question should be related to the State Department of Pesticide Regulation that regulates the use of herbicides. We are the end user.
Okay,
No.
what, well, you can kind of answer some of these. All right, let me skip the ones that were not mentioned. Are you intending to put up any signage before, during, and after spraying, warning the public that they could be exposed to a carcinogen if they drive past or walk past or bicycle past this 4-foot strip?
We plan to just follow the regulations set forth by EPA.
Oh, come on.
Joe, you want to comment?
Poison everybody.
Joe, do you want to comment?
Since I am the ad commissioner, I'm also the pesticide regulator, and placards and placarding and all that is basically product by product specific. If it's on the label, they have to do it. It's not on the label. I believe Roundup is still dust settled sprays dried like many herbicides have. I can shed a little light on this question. The state of California, OEHA, the hazards assessment, put it on the Prop 65 list. It also has, that was in July of 2017, and April 10th of 2018, they established their, what was it, their amount that's safe to be, which I did some math today, works out to be about, if you'd say a 70 kilogram person, 150 pound person on average, this cancer is all done with rats, and you have to interpret from rats to humans. So the dose makes the response. It takes more of a dose. So it's about 2.5 ounces roughly when you convert to English per day per 70 kilogram person. So walking along the side of the road or driving along the side of the road is orders of magnitude less than that. And just to make it real simple, the person that is most likely to even come close to those amounts are the applicators themselves, which will be Caltrans, which wear protective equipment. And basically, you follow the label because the label is the law. Try and understand that to get a label out of US EPA, Tom's right, then you have to get one in California for it to be legal here. That's about $20 million worth of data over a 10-year time span. You can't even apply to the state of California without your US EPA label. Then you apply to California and there's other data sets. So it's a long story short to say there's a whole bunch of science that goes on to get a registration, and with a whole bunch of dead rats in the way. And yes, you have to reapply for California. It's a very time-consuming process and very expensive. But yes, it's a data-driven system, and that's how you get your registration. That data is what makes the label. What protective gear you use, rates you can use, when you can't use, sensitive species, all of it. All of that is driven by data sets to negotiate the label with US EPA and later on California EPA. So they're absolutely right. It's still a legal product. It has been listed on Prop 65, but you know, so is ethanol. And you've seen the warnings at the convenience store. So there's also, if you're using OEHA's listing, you must also, I looked at it online today, there's a safe limit that boils down to about 2.5 ounces, under which they say there's no effect, no observed effect, works out to about 2.5 ounces. And if John Knight's in the room, I need to talk to him too, because he was doing some of the math and I was doing some of the math. I want to compare figures with the math. Anyway, he is back there. Well, you can see me after the meeting. So you're way over your time limit. Do you have another question?
Whoa.
You had a Fish and Game Commission meeting, but this is the weed management meeting.
Yeah, yes it is. And the reason, no, never mind. Monsanto and Bayer have just lost 2 enormous lawsuits over Roundup and glyphosate, which raises the issue of would the Trinity County potentially have legal liability if, as will happen, and you know it will happen, people start filing cancer lawsuits here claiming that they got cancer from your spray. Do we have liability?
My understanding about those lawsuits was that there was no labeling of the product stating that they are carcinogenic. So with the application of herbicides in this safe use of herbicides, there should not be, and will not be, runoff, drift, or other human contact, like I tried to mention, that to protect the environment, people, and the workers.
If we do get sued, will you pay all attorney's fees and damages?
That's not my place to comment.
All right, last question is, if we lose business in Trinity County, because maybe fishermen and hunters, and I'm on the Fish and Game Commission, are not so, and bicyclists and hikers and a whole lot of other people to say, wait a minute, they're spraying herbicides over there, I don't want to come. Are we going to get indemnified for that? Are you going to take all the people who are losing business because of that? The county revenue that we have lost, is that going to be indemnified by Caltrans?
I don't think you can tie the two together compared to our practices in Shasta County, where there's the McLeod River, there's the Sacramento River, there's the hunting ridges all over the place. So I don't see how you could, someone would say that the two are connected.
That's a no.
I would like to comment that, but so in Trinity County, cannabis farmers are, this is one of our main. So cannabis is one of our main agricultural crops, and we're tested for 66 pesticides and herbicides. Glyphosate is one of them. And so if I tested positive for glyphosate, I would know absolutely 100% that it came to Caltrans because I hold 2 Beyond Organic certifications and I've tested my land and everything is 100% clean. So if I did fail a test, that was these regulations for pesticides for cannabis farmers are mandated by the state. So if I failed a test because Caltrans made me fail that test, there would absolutely be a lawsuit.
Just
So
like there would be in Shasta County around organic farms, where with organic farms or any farm, you're supposed to provide a buffer zone between properties, correct? Do you keep a buffer on your property?
Absolutely, but if it came up, I know where it would come from. You know what I mean? I've passed every lab test.
There's no drift.
There's no comment to put on a card and leave them.
How can you say that?
Yeah, it does.
How does the Mercedes?
It's like we're having a lot of respect for like what the people of the county want for their lives and how we practice our ways that we have. And we're subject to state guidelines for our production of our legal agricultural product. And if Caltrans, which is a state agency, is interfering with that and affecting our business and our local economy, how can we go and move forward with it?
These things will take under review.
I mean, our children are here.
Follow the regulations that are set forth. We're here, you know, the state operates to make sure everyone's safe and responsible.
I'm just saying, we've gone through the ringer to comply with state regulations, and if the state is going to throw out everything that we're expected to comply with,
We will follow the regulations.
okay, I would expect that, but if anything happens to this is basically chemical warfare on the people of Trinity County. And so if we lose our local economy because of state mandated action, we have nothing to participate in. Who is accountable? You know, we're accountable to ourselves because we signed up. You know what I mean? We decided to comply. And so we need some accountability from state agencies saying, well, you're not going to spray these 66 pesticides or herbicides, neither should you. That's simple.
I also have the accountability. When I sign my name on pesticide use recommendations, my name goes on those.
Okay, just so you know that we are all subject to mandatory testing for our product.
So
Just so you know.
there's a whole bunch, we don't have much time, so could you please not clap during that? I just want to get to comments, okay, and cycle through. This gentleman has one too. I've written yours down. Also the ag commissioner, and the guy that has to come in license inspection, we'd love to talk to you. Go ahead.
Well, you know, the last 40 years, things have gone along pretty good here. We've used mowing, weed whips, inmate crews to do the brushing along the slopes. Everything has worked out fine until we get some new guys on the job, you guys.
Amen.
And our ag commissioner. And all of a sudden you need herbicides to do the job that's worked just fine for 40 years. And I've yet to hear why you think that that's appropriate. Now, I understand that you've used fire starts as an excuse, but where you spray, like take I-5 for instance. If you drive I-5 in the fall, you can't go 5 miles without a fire scar on the side of the road that started where you've sprayed a nice wide dead strip on the shoulder, another dead strip on the median side, and the fire still starts. So that's a bogus sort of excuse, and you shouldn't come here tonight and tell us that's why you're changing it. The reason you're changing it is you guys are so committed to using chemicals, you don't know that there's cures for anything else. Well, we have a different situation here in Trinity County that we're real concerned with. Most of this county drinks water. They draw water out of the creeks and rivers and streams here for their domestic sources. So I don't know if you guys understand it, but every road ditch leads to a creek. It leads to somebody's drinking water. And we don't want that poison here. 80% of the groundwater basins in the United States are contaminated with atrazine, one that you use for grass. The groundwater in the Central Valley from so much herbicide application from guys like you has contaminated the water. Many, many communities in California now can't use their groundwater because you guys have promoted so much spraying. We don't want it here in Trinity County. Do what you've been doing for 40 years. It worked just fine until you showed up, huh? You guys are a bunch of square pegs trying to fit in a round hole, and it doesn't fit here. So go back to
Nice talk, everyone.
We don't need your new approach.
Thank you for your comment.
I think I want to express what a lot of these people probably do feel, which is fear. We have all lived long enough, most of us, to remember when other chemicals were deemed safe, DDT, I remember being sprayed down with it as being a disinfectant, getting rid of lice. In the military, it was done. DDT is, carcinogenic. There's other communities. I came from St. Louis. There's a community just out of town that somebody decided that spraying down all over with a chemical was perfectly okay. That town does not exist anymore. It's called Love Canal. There's all kinds of incidents where scientific community has said at one time that a chemical is safe to use. But years later, they discover something they didn't know at the time that causes a problem. Now, for a normal human being to ingest the amount of the chemicals that he was talking about, well, there's not just human beings up here. There's every kind of animal and fish that lives up here that depends on each other. From insects, from the birds that we love to watch, to eat, from the fish that brings the tourist up. It won't take much for, in 5 years, they say, hey, we can't use these facilities anymore because they're contaminated. I don't look at you guys as being intentional, that you were wanting to poison us or anything like that. But I do fear that in 5 or 10 years, another set of scientists are going to come out and they're going to discover something about those chemicals. This is as close to nature as we got anymore. I come from the Midwest where nothing like this exists anymore. The state of Illinois used to be covered with wilderness. That's gone. We've got to protect for the future, not just for ourselves, but for the future. This forest. Now I know we need to manage it, we need to take care of it, we need to clean it up to help prevent forest fires, but we also have to have forest fires for it to actually thrive. But spraying chemicals on it is not the answer. At least one that I'm not sure enough to say that in 5 or 10 years, it's going to be okay. That's what I got to say.
Appreciate it.
My name's Andrew Franklin from Junction City, and I belong to a group called the North Fork Range, and we do volunteer trash cleanup along a 2 or 3 mile stretch of Highway 299. Will our group be notified exactly when, where, and what you are applying, so we don't have our volunteers out there the next day? If we have cancer survivors in our group, should we tell them not to participate in this activity? Is that something you can answer now? Are highway cleanup groups going to be notified as to what, when, and where you are spraying?
Well, you would need to have to file for an encroachment permit to do work on the roadway.
No, we're one of this highway maintained by North Fork Range. We've all watched the video, we wear orange vests, we clean up the highway. We don't need an encroachment permit for that.
The purpose of the encroachment permit is to communicate with activities that are going on.
There's no, I'm familiar with encroachment permits. I get them for music festivals and other events all the time. And there's no encroachment permit. We have a scheduled cleanup coming up. But if you're gonna spray herbicides on Friday before our Saturday cleanup, don't you think we should know?
Can we get your name? Can you write it on a comment?
Andrew Franklin.
We will talk to encroachments about that type of topic. And this is new. This is, new to you, new to me.
So in other counties where you spray, you don't,
Excuse me?
in other counties where you spray,
We have
you don't
encroachment
notify the
office.
volunteer groups?
Volunteer groups should be notifying our encroachment office.
Someone else can talk.
Democratic. Yeah, exactly. Oh my God. these
Next in
guys
line.
are apprehensive.
By the way, you've been doing a great job of parceling out the comments. We don't have to pick on people. I know this man is Larry Glass.
Correct. Larry Glass, I speak for safe alternatives to our forest environment here in Trinity County. I'm here tonight. I'm very disappointed in the county's decision to hire this gentleman here. Clearly nobody did their homework. This is the wrong man for the job. Look, everybody here appreciates you guys removing the snow off the road, fixing the highway so we don't blow out our axles and chuck holes. That's all great. So praise the Caltrans for that. But this arrogant attitude that you guys are displaying about coming to our county and telling us how we have to live, that's the real issue here. We can debate about the health effects. All of us here know what the health effects are because we lived through it before. But let's talk about the right of self-determination for Trinity County. We've had herbicides declared a public nuisance in this county since the mid-'80s. The agencies have gone along with this, CAL FIRE, everybody's gone along with this. Your predecessors used to work with us, and that's why we had manual clearing along the roadside. But now you guys are coming along and you're disregarding the will of the people of Trinity County. And I know we're unique, I know the rest of the state gets sprayed, but we chose to live here in a pristine environment where we don't get exposed to poison all the time. That's our right to make that choice. We want you to respect that choice. You know, maybe in your mind you feel justified that this is a cost-effective way to do it, and this is the way it's done the rest of the state. But listen to what we're saying. This is not what we want in this county. We don't want to be exposed to that. Hire crews and clear the roadsides. It'll accomplish the task, and you make everybody in this room very happy, and you'll be a hero.
Mr. Glass, I hope you appreciate us actually coming here to discuss and having this community talk. I think that was very important. I wanted to be here and tell what we're up to. I'm not going behind people's backs.
Well, we hope you
Why are you
listen
gonna
to
do
us
it if we
then.
don't want it?
Yeah, yes, we don't want it. Use goats.
Well, go back to Reading, tell Dave Nord not to Trinity County.
Just say it,
But this is a state highway that we have to cooperate and work with.
We are the people, we make the decisions.
And we're a part of California.
There's an obligation that we have to maintain the highway in a safe manner.
Yeah, you've been doing it for 40 years, we're fine.
That's not a safe management.
To maintain the highway in a safe manner.
Safe?
It's not being
It
a
is
safe
not safe. Keyword being safe.
That includes the people that drive through the county as well.
You guys are just driving through?
You don't
Do you
live
live
here.
here?
You don't live here.
Our workers
Oh,
do.
sorry. Oh, no.
Our maintenance workers do.
So my name is Bernie Hanson.
Excuse me, just one moment if I could. We have workers that do work on the highway, and this helps them. This is for worker safety and for traveler safety. We honestly believe that this protects the adjacent communities, adjacent lands, the motorists, the pedestrians. This is all part of maintaining the highway in a safe and professional manner. This is a consideration that we have to consider. So we're here, we came here to listen to what you have to say.
Well, we want to ask you, why change now? 40 years, you've been doing it one way, it's worked fine, it's been a safe highway, we're all pleased with the way you've been managing it. Why change now?
Yeah.
What happened?
Your perception is that it's easy and it's working. That's not the case.
It is.
Our workers are struggling with the vegetation control out there by doing that. So that's your. Future should say
That is right there.
Buddy will tell you about it.
What you have to say, because it's important to us, okay? So
What about us?
Yeah, we're not there to pay.
we're here because you're important, that's what I'm
Everybody.
saying.
As a community, you would just say, okay, we're not gonna spray, we can all go home. Because that's why, is anybody in here supportive of spraying?
No.
Okay, that was easy.
This is not a democracy, though.
We're giving everybody a chance to talk, so we've heard your comment.
So, I'm with Larry. You guys are hard workers. If we can take Caltrans and look at it, it's almost a model of public operation. I mean, the way you guys take care of that thing is amazing. But on this issue, you are profoundly mistaken. What you're doing with this stuff is making every person who is born, including us, from now on, is going to be impacted by what you're doing. And I have something for you to tell your wife when you get home. Are you ready? You know what autism is? Okay. The autism rate in the 40s was 1 in 10,000. Now it's 1 in 100. You tell your wife that. Hey. Am I right?
You're right, buddy.
So, now wait, shut up. Listen, all this stuff we hear about this science comes from science programs in colleges that are paid for by the chemical industry. All of this guy's bullshit comes from that. That's where these guys went to school. That's all they heard. We know this stuff is in me, it's in the fish, it's in the water. We're just trying to keep it down. We don't want it anymore. If you guys, do you ever watch television? Do you go on the internet? Check it out. The jury is not out. The news is in. This stuff is everywhere. Okay? We don't want, it's a carcinogen. It's destroying the entire human, animal, vegetable fabric of this planet. Be sure to tell your wife about the miscarriages. Thank you very much.
Please remain at the podium when you're speaking, and refrain from swear words, all right?
My name's Carolyn Chaperone. I moved here from the Midwest, Kansas. It's about as Midwest as you can get. Something happened to me, and the neighbors next door were really kind. They were landscapers. And they sprayed my yard with Roundup. I used to feed my neighborhood. We're talking like 4 square blocks with the food I grew in my yard. After what they sprayed, for the next 4 years, the plants grew, but they didn't fruit. Europe does not want Roundup on its shores. This county in particular has less than 15,000 people in it, which is why we don't matter to you. People here, we depend on the water, we depend on the land, we depend on the tourism, which is like the bulk of the cash that comes through this county. It's agriculture. What you're proposing will kill that agricultural base. What are you trying to do? Have you thought of goats? Lots of places around the planet use goats to get rid of those noxious weeds that you talk about. Do you have anything to say? You know, Nevada City uses them. They have a GoFundMe site. Shasta County, they use them.
Goats are, if I can interject, goats, if I can interject, goats are untamed. They travel. They get hit by cars. They'll go through someone's windshield.
Goat herders are really good.
But if you ever walked along 299 or any other road, 96, 44, these roads are dangerous. Cars go very fast. Drivers are under the influence. Things are dangerous out there. It's dangerous for everybody. So goats are...
And chemicals aren't. Chemicals are safer.
Last year, they get hit up here. Okay? You put the electric pins in the ground so that there's an electric barrier, or do it with sound, and they'll stay within the area they need to stay in. You have a goat herder or two, however that works. The research is already done. Call up the Sierra Club. They've got the information. The FDA approves it. It's like they shit. They fertilize the ground. They're not poisoning anybody. They're not poisoning the water. They're not poisoning the birds or the deer or anything else. You know, this community does not want Roundup.
Did you say there was an entity that has a goat funding?
Yeah, Nevada City. They have a goat funding. There's like 300 or 3,000 people in their community, and they have a goat funding site. You know, if we lose the agriculture, but it's trees, marijuana, and a few other things, but those are the primary crops up here. Monsanto has potential of killing all of that, let alone, you know, I don't think Bob and Mary and their 10 kids or whatever coming up here to camp and staycation are going to go swim in poisoned waters. They don't want to feed their kids stuff that they think is healthy, but potentially is not. That hurts all of us here in Trinity County. When you guys drive through, there's a lot of people who just drive through. We live here. And we like for our kids to be healthy, you know, and our grandkids. And you guys don't even live here.
Good point. Thank you.
My name is Susan Gordon, and I was born and raised there and come from a long heritage. So I'm hearing tonight that you guys are kind of proceeding. Have you given us a date as to when the spraying starts? Do you have a date?
Soon.
Okay, so soon. So I think that tonight, there needs to be an appointed public group that works with you at this point. There needs to be a group of people and the ag commissioner, and you guys need to be having a group, because this is going to go to the supervisors. These people aren't going to stop. But what I'm afraid of is neither are you. So at tonight's meeting, we need to have a group. There needs to be a watchdog group at this point that works with you folks as you start to come together with what you're saying you don't have yet for us. And so there needs to be an appointed group. We're not going to accomplish that with you tonight. It's obvious. We're going to run out of our half an hour time, and nothing's going to be done. So there needs to be a group that gets appointed, if it's by the supervisors, if it's by the planning commission, whoever it is, that you have to work with from this moment forward, and we report back to our community. Because we're going to try to stop it at all ends. We're not backing down. We don't want sprays in Trinity County. We want Trinity County to be the last bastion of the serenity that this place is named after. That my ancestors, my children, our grandchildren are coming forward to be. And we want that upheld here. So come on, let's have a committee. Let's not just say we don't have the answers. And if John Knight is the one gentleman in the room that maybe wants these sprays for specific things, then let's have that person at the table too. But we're not going to accomplish, and we want to accomplish something. One is to stop you. Two, if we can't stop you, then we want to watch out. We want to know where you're spraying. We want those signs put up. We want public notification. We want these things to happen. You need to embrace a committee. And you need to embrace a committee tonight before you move forward. Thank you very
Same wisdom that killed a lot of my brothers with Agent Orange. I'm only 2 left in my company. 2. Everybody else has died of Agent Orange. You guys don't get it. You haven't learned anything. Stop it. Stop it. I'm begging you. I don't care. You're not a scientist. I'm not a scientist. But I've seen men die. I've seen what they look like from being exposed to this crap. You guys got to stop it.
Thank you for your
And I'm also living on the 299. My driveway is part of the old 299. Now, I'd like to know why we have to have herbicides. Why don't we have something organic compounds that we can use? Why are you going back to these things that have failed and have been taken away for 40 years, and you want to bring them back? Economically feasible. Well, we can still have other options that are economically feasible. We've proved it by what's going on now. My concern is my water comes out of the river and it comes up through the rocks exactly where you will spray. What's the alternative? We do not want to be poisoned.
Amen.
As you've heard everybody else say. And we will continue to question, we will continue to show up, we will continue to say, hey, we're not scientists, but we can look at the science. We're not stupid enough to say, hey, go for whatever that Rachel Carson in Silent Spring said. No! The summon will work, and we're going back to before that. We've got to have other alternatives available. Why can't you present those?
That's what IPM, Integrated Pest Management Practices, are all about. Taking.
I'm an organic farmer and I know about integrated pest management. Herbicides and pesticides are not part of the integrated pest management program. It's that simple. I'm a farmer. I do this every day and I'm not questioning your agricultural background. IPM just avoids pesticides and herbicides at all costs. Yeah, wherever you come. I guess that's the point of integrated pest management is to use the system and multiple things, not chemical sprays. It's to avoid chemical sprays at all costs. I have full organic certification. I know about IPM, and that the point is to not use herbicides and pesticides. Very simple.
People mentioned my name a couple times, so I gotta stand up and defend myself. My name's John Knight, and I live here in Weaverville. And I do have a different view than what's been said here, but I want to share some information with you guys, just to share. So, when herbicides are applied in Trinity County, they're reported. And it's reported to our Ag Commissioner, and it's reported to the Water Quality Control Board. So anybody can go to the website and find out what herbicides are being applied and what acreage.
If you have internet. Isn't it within 30 days after application they have to be publicized?
Well,
That's correct.
you could be right, but what my point is,
John, you gotta know your facts if you're gonna stand up there.
Joseph, can you listen?
Well,
Please don't interrupt me. I didn't interrupt you. Please let me finish. Thank you.
Go ahead. We'll listen.
So I went and I checked the database, and I got the records from 1991 to 2009. That's almost 20 years. And then, so the average application in Trinity County permitted was 5,000 acres per year. That's the average.
Some years were more, some years were less. So I think we're laboring under a little bit of a misconception to think that we're herbicide-free. Now, those herbicides that were applied were primarily for the timber industry. So you think about all the people that get their livelihood from the timber industry, and then ask yourself, is the timber industry a nuisance?
Spray the mountains. Yes. Do they need to spray the mountains? No, but they should. It's not the longer, just the spray.
Okay, all right, thank you for your
It's the
response.
poison in our water. Here to live above those logging lands that are
John,
having
how well did
cancer.
SBI's cut blocks fare during the car fire? Didn't every single one of them burn up? So that's a failed form of forestry.
Thank you. All right, if I could continue, I've got my 3 minutes, hopefully somebody's keeping.
One left now.
So, if I heard you guys right, you plan to spray from Buckhorn to Oregon Mountain, roughly.
Spot locations.
Spot locations, okay. Well, let's say for the sake of discussion that you're going to spray the whole thing, okay? 4 foot either side. All right, so if you do the math, that comes out to about 25 acres is what they'd be spraying if they did the whole thing. But they're not, but just for discussion. All right, that would be less than 0.5% increase on what our yearly average is. So, in my mind, that's not a significant increase on what's taking place now.
It's not your well either.
Hey, listen, every road is along a waterway, John.
Hey, decorum. All right, now I'm going to push back a little bit on one of the comments that was made about the utility of having a fire break alongside the road. After 30 years in the fire service, I have a working definition of what constitutes.
Sir, your time's up. You stepped up at 6:47. It's now 31. Your 3 minutes are up, sir.
Keep going, John.
I'll be brief. After 30 years in the fire service, I have the working definition of what a good fire line is whatever holds. Now, because sometimes fire lines are simply a scratch line a foot or less, and it holds. If it holds, it's a good line. Now, if we are vulnerable to roadside fires, and if we can get some enhanced level of safety from roadside fire starts, I think we should consider it and not just dismiss it offhand. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. You want to seat back too?
No, I want you to have it because you're
Hey, admission. I'm not switching you, don't worry about it.
I can't hear it.
Declare Shasta County, their highways are sprayed.
Yes.
And so the devastating fire the devastating fire that hit Whiskey Town was started by a flat tire that led to the whole forest burning down. That area was sprayed.
The area of
The area on the side where the car fire was, that was sprayed with herbicides to prevent fire. Yes?
fire was in.
No, it wasn't.
It was not sprayed. But how about the I-5 where the next devastating fire started? Was that sprayed as well?
That was arson.
That was arson?
Fire strips are used to prevent the ignition of fire. And it's not guaranteed. Nothing's guaranteed. But to use them as a tool out of the tool shed with everything else, it prevents fires. It prevents from happening.
So one concern that I have is I'm a beekeeper, and the honey that we produce up in these mountains is a superior honey, that of quality, that is pesticide-free. And it is known in the valley, a lot of the honeys have pesticides in them. You have to get organic honey because it is so pesticide-ridden. And my bees don't have no boundaries. I live right above the Trinity River. You're telling me that you're not going to let us know when you're spraying. Because if you could let us know when you're going to spray these poisons, I could put a screen over my beehives and not allow my bees to get out. can you please provide us with the information when you're gonna spray?
Are you supposed to follow some regulations with your beekeeping of notification to?
They really enjoy star thistle, hairy vetch, and blackberries, which love to grow next to the highway, right? It grows high quality plants. And so they're going to be attracted to it. And not only is that going to have an influence on my bees, but that's going to be bringing that poison in concentration forms into my honey that I serve to my children and myself as medicine. And you're not giving any assurance.
I don't put your name on it. We don't spray insecticides.
No, not insecticides. We spray herbicides that are known to have effects on the bees and the pollinators. Have you been reading the science about the pollinators that are like collapsing right now?
You got an important point. Can you put your name on a card and give it to it?
Yeah, but I'm not the only beekeeper. I have friends that are beekeepers on Highway 3, on 299, throughout the county, you know, and they need to know when these sprays are put so they can protect their medicine and their bees. The bees are already having a hard enough time. And so, like, work with us.
Don't spray insecticides, don't spray.
It's not insecticide, it's the herbicides that are having, Roundup is having an effect on the bees. There's all these
ecosystem.
It's having an effect on the whole entire ecosystem. So I know you're not spraying insecticides. I'm very clear with that. You're spraying herbicides, which the animals are attracted to, because what happens, you spray it and they don't die right away, right? It takes them a little while for them to dry up and die. So in the meantime, the pollinators are continuing to go and collect the pollen and thus immerse themselves in the herbicides that are bringing it back to their hive, that are killing the colonies, that are bringing poison back to my honey that I'm serving to my children. So we need to have the information. You need to let us know when you're spraying. Also, I'm one of the people that are picking up trash on the side of the road. You know, I mean, it's like the highway. My children, we ride our bikes on the sides of the roads. I mean, we walk on the sides of the roads. You know, I mean, you are the few and we are the masses. So the masses have to communicate with you in terms of understanding when you're spraying. Wouldn't it be easier for you to just put up signs or set it out? Or don't even spray at all. You're not working with us at all.
Use a mower.
How are you working with us? You're hearing us? How are you working with us?
Follow the rules.
Can we use follow the rules? Because you're following the rules.
You're coming here after we haven't sprayed for 40 years. You're saying you're working with us, but you're coming here and saying this is what you're going to do. You're telling us what you're going to do in our community after 40 years. How is that working with us?
Yeah.
Here the answer.
Listening to you in the regard that we're also following the regulations that were set forth in trying to keep our roads safe.
No,
it
didn't work. No, that's right.
And we understand, we want safe roads. But I mean, is Trinity County any less safe than, say, Ama County's roads? Or Modoc County's roads? I mean, you're trying to keep it safe. We've been doing the same thing for 40 years. Is it all of a sudden, is it not safe? Because what I'm hearing is it's not economical. The workers are working so hard. They're working so hard. It's not about safety. It's about the labor.
So tax us, let us pay for it.
What is
Pay
it?
for them to fill the lawn and
It's not about
if it's a
fire
money thing, let us
prevention.
pay.
There's plenty of
It's not
money
getting
in
done. We're not able to get the work done.
We're
standing around with shovels.
It's going to be something that's not going to be done.
Employment opportunities for locals.
If it's going to be, we have multiple areas to attack. We have trees to remove, dead trees to remove. We have truck drivers. We have things.
We really appreciate you keeping it clean. But we just don't need poison. Don't poison my bees.
Your bees are important to me. I used to be a beekeeper myself.
Yeah.
If you give me your card, okay,
you understand that not just insecticides, but herbicides also affect bees?
And that it's not just Dunkin', it's a lot of people. And there's a lot of farms that are organic in this county. There's a lot of just economic, there's a lot of risks.
But you're
that
still, you're
not
just
factoring
mandating. You're telling us, I will spray. You're not coming here and saying, we're considering spraying. You're coming here saying, we will start spraying. This is what we're doing. We're not telling you what chemicals. We're not telling you when we're doing it. You're coming here, you're telling us what you're gonna do. You know, like that's, you know, not what we do in a democracy, right? I mean, you say you're working with us, but you're telling us what you're doing. That's not working with us. That's authoritarian.
On us.
We also work with the noxious weed group, where we work together on ideas and locations for what needs to happen, coming up with solutions.
Don't spray.
Don't spray. So, gentlemen, your time here is very valuable, right? It's a limited time. You seem to have shown up without a plan. I understand you're talking about spraying right now during the spring or pre-spring emergence, something that keeps the seeds from germinating. And then later in the season, the stuff that does emerge, you want to hit with something that's phytotoxic like glyphosate or glyphosate, however you say it. How do you say it? Glyphosate? So what is that pre-emergent treatment that keeps seeds from germinating? Because we do have a huge problem here with losing our native grasses and such. We want them to germinate. But also you discussed spraying at ridge abutments and within 20 feet of surface water. All of Trinity County drains in the Trinity River. Me and my family drink from it. But I think this is an opportunity for you to tell us, what is your plan? What is this pre-emergent, non-seed germinating, whatever it is? And we want to hear your plan. You're going to get plenty of comments about how we feel about this, but we haven't heard your plan. And this is your opportunity to please.
What, where, and when?
If it's a good plan, it should put many of us at ease.
What, where, and when? Please.
Let's get a new ag commissioner.
I'd like to, time out, John. Richard would like to address you for a second. I agreed to it, so. Excuse me.
Hey guys, hey, listen up. We got a lot of people that want to speak. I mean, I see a line falling back there. So what we need to do is we need to be focused on allowing the people that are at the podium to speak their piece. Even if you don't agree with their message, they have the right, as much as you do, to speak their piece. So let them get through. Avoid the outburst or the calls from the back about something that you don't like. Allow people to be heard and to speak. And then when you're done, I'm sorry, we're not trying to cut you off and shorten the message. We're trying to get through everybody that wants to say something tonight. So we're going to keep moving forward, even though we were supposed to end at 7. We're going to keep this moving forward. I appreciate your comments. This is what Caltrans needs to hear. But again, we need to get people through here so that they can talk. Please respect them. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
Hi. So my name's Christine Kamara. I'm the superintendent of Junction City School. We live right along the Trinity River. So I have two concerns. One, we've heard a lot of mention about the domestic water use. Our school is a public water system, and we get our water from a very shallow well fed by the Trinity River. So clearly it's a concern. We've got 100 people on campus every day, littles, cute little kids who like to make sure they have good water. Two, I'm confused about the integrated pest management plan. As a state agency, we have a very strict integrated pest management plan that requires us to give public notification of exactly any chemical we would be using into post areas. It's very clear. We would never be allowed to use anything without clear public notification and posting to make sure everybody stays safe. So as a state agency, I don't know why you wouldn't have to give us that information and post the area to ensure everyone's public safety.
We don't spray near, we have our buffer zones from schools. We don't spray near.
Obviously wasn't the question, sir. I'm not saying, as a state agency, aren't you required to make it very public what your intentions are? What you would use, that you would give public notice and that you would post. We're required to post if we're gonna do anything, for sure.
We
So
don't use restricted materials that require posting. We use general herbicides. We don't, our getting of our permit, operating use permit, is our notification to the county that we are going to spray. That is what is required of us.
Good try.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. I think it's at the very least what you could do. It sounds to me like you're not formulated a full plan yet. So maybe it sounds to me like you're going by the status quo. I don't think that's good enough. I think this environment is really highly sensitive. We have spent my entire lifetime, the last 40 years since we stopped spraying, we have on our shoulders a legacy of huge environmental restoration because of herbicide spraying during the timber days. We have a lot of legacy issues. We have very sensitive species all over the place. Everybody's well is practically all hydrologically connected. So I don't care if it's by the side of the road. I'm sorry, a 20-foot setback is a joke. Yep. And if your agency is following these status quo, and that's okay with the state of California, but we have our own ordinance, it's not okay here. This is the wilderness, and it is one of the last ones. There are endangered species here that don't even exist on the planet, almost anywhere, but they do here. Now, I understand that you have your own economic situations, your safety of your workers, you have a lot, and I'm an agriculturalist, I deal with the same issues. I think it's a huge concern. I wonder what you do in Marin County. I know that they're all organic. What do you do about the bees? People have organic certifications. Their products are being tested. How are you going to be accountable for these things? And it's not just that. It's our drinking water. It's our children. The children in Salinas Valley, they're not being born healthy with this. Okay, there's a lot of problems out there that are okay with the status quo. They're not okay here. That's why our ordinance exists. And we have a different situation environmentally here, and with the way we use water, and with the way we are water rich, it is everywhere. 20-foot setback is a joke, and when you start to look at real setbacks, you're going to see that you're going to run into problems, and that you have to find another solution that is ecologically okay. And there are, and it might take a little more work to get there, but we need to start with that here, and we need to be the model for the rest of the state. We can't keep going down this road. We have to be the ones to do the extra work, and we are the community that will do it with you. So let's make a solution that is ecological. There has to be one. I'm a regenerative farmer. I have to meet really strict standards, and it is a lot to transition your land, but it is possible, and it is possible to do in a way that is efficient, and that for the long term is way more successful in every way, including getting rid of invasive species and actually successfully doing that and bringing back our native grasses. Thank you for listening.
I know that I'm also a state water operator. We test the water, and I'm very aware of making sure that the availability of clean, fresh, reliable water is important. I know that there's the Klamath River is full of E. coli. There's many things out there. And I
We don't
appreciate
need to
that.
have
No.
We need to do everything we can to be the opposite, the role model for how we can do better. This is the state of the world we're in. We can't just keep going status quo. And Trinity County has an ordinance specifically to address this.
My name is Susan Bauer, and I want to address something that I think most everybody here is thinking and feeling at one level or another, but we haven't really given vocal expression to, and that is the lack of trust. And why I speak to that especially is when I moved here in the 70s, the Forest Service was spraying Agent Orange, which I'm sure you know is made of 2,4,5-T and 2,4-D, and it came in Army barrels, 55 gallons. SBI was using private stocks of Agent Orange. And we went to hearings like this, and one I remember especially, 12 different experts, meaning heads of different agencies and whatnot, assured us that this was as safe as salt, table salt, and baking soda. And as we all know, eventually, after the studies came out, and all the problems with children, including children here that were born, we had mole pregnancies, which are a little blob of tissue with teeth and eyeballs in it that is related to that. A young woman also had thyroid cancer. We say, well, that was in the past, and now we don't use 2,4,5-D, but we use 2,4-D very frequently. 2,4-D is actually an inert ingredient in some of the formulations, many of them, of Roundup. And it's called inert, so we legally don't get to know about it. And that's another trust problem. It took a long time just to get past the 2,4,5-D, and now we have that. And then Garlan came out, and Garlan was touted as the next wonderful herbicide. And it turns out chemists who were knowledgeable chemists in the field pointed out to us that Garlan was really 2,4,5-T, but there was one atom that was moved to a different place in those wonderful chains that they show, and because of how, when you're describing those chains, that you do it according to a protocol, and so it didn't even sound like it had anything to do with 2,4,5-T unless you were a chemist, and then you would recognize that. And also triclofor. Triclofor was another one that was touted as being marvelous. And it's so poisonous that the animals, the herbivores that eat the vegetation that's been treated, when the poop and pee comes out, that kills plants. I mean, that's how much it goes through. So can you imagine eating those animals that are poisoning the ground around them? And then, so we're assured that EPA looks out for all these things. I don't know if you're aware of the politics right now, but we have somebody in there that's been recently appointed by a president who's basically against that kind of oversight, and the new director that's even more true of. And so the EPA has said some time ago that, oh, Roundup is safe. And then also the Department of Agriculture said, oh no, we didn't find any kind of Roundup on the produce we tested, and it turns out that they did test, and they admitted, this is under the Freedom of Information Act and all, they admitted, well, we didn't have the proper money to actually do the financial studies, so we didn't do the studies. And I could go on and on with stories like that. In here, for instance, I got to go up once in the county's Air Force, which at the time was a little Cessna. We don't have it anymore, no more Air Force. And we could see where the spray plane had gone right across the New River. Everything was dead, up to the river, and on the other side, and over a house, too. So all these things, and I could go on and on with these awful stories. We don't, when you say it's tested and the state of California thinks it's great, unfortunately, we haven't seen any reason to agree with that it's true. I'm not calling you liars, because I will recognize you believe what they say to you, but we don't. And now, especially with this administration that is trying to do it that way with oversight and regulation, so corporations like Monsanto, Bayer Monsanto, can go right ahead and sell more and more of their stuff. And I'm even wondering if indeed this is coming down from on high, now that France has said you can't sell pesticides in our country anymore, and other jurisdictions are doing that too, saying, oh, come on, boys, push this stuff. Don't let there be any of these outlaws that say, no, we don't want them. Yeah. So, anyway, I really hope that we can find a good way of solving the problems without using these untrustworthy chemicals.
Writing over there, it looks like a book.
I'm thinking about writing one after this one.
Are you really? So you're our new ad commissioner?
I'm the new ad commissioner.
So you actually represent this constituency to Caltrans?
No, I don't represent Caltrans. I've worked with
No, but you represent this community to Caltrans. Basically, you're coordinating with them.
The job's described in the law. I prefer you to the local powers and duties statement in the California Food and Ag Code. It sets out what the ag commissioner is.
See what a mistake they made hiring that guy?
That's certainly a possibility.
All right. So I guess I've heard from a lot of science on both sides here. I mean, you have one version of it, and they have another. And it's pretty easy for me to see, just from sitting in the background, that either side actually agrees with the other. And I really don't think in the end it matters. What does matter is a hidden cost that's associated with making a unilateral decision in this case. I mean, if you decide, with the majority of Trinity County feeling the way that you've heard, that you're going to make a unilateral decision on behalf of the state of California, there could be a hidden cost. So I know that you're trying to save $25 to $100 an hour doing things that you think are necessary and proper. But there are a lot of folks here who don't feel that you're doing what's necessary and proper. In fact, the whole county voted to keep the pesticides out. So I could say that a majority of the voters within Trinity County decided it was a bad idea. So I'm afraid that you might be looking at a lawsuit if you just make a unilateral decision. I think from what you hear here, actually tonight, is that these folks aren't going to do it. That you might have hoped that they would just blow some steam off and then go away or be satisfied with your responses. But from what I'm hearing, they're not satisfied. And they're not going to let it go away. So part of your budget to do the roads, I guess it just comes out of your ticket. I don't know whether or not you pay the Department of Justice, but instead of $25 to $100 an hour, those guys are making $250 to $300. And if you go to court defending this policy, it's going to be very expensive in the state of California. And this happens a lot of other times. As John knows, sometimes the Board of Forestry is up against the Water Quality Control Board, usually over stormwater runoff. And those battles just between one state agency and another are extremely expensive. And even though Trinity County isn't a state agency, they are a political subdivision in the state of California and deserve that kind of recognition, while you are only a small slice of the state of California. So it's hard for me to say that Caltrans is more important than what Trinity County is. So what I would urge you to do is try to make some cooperative. I thought Sue Corrigan had an excellent suggestion. She suggested that you try to work something out with our ag commissioner, who's still writing, or another board that's selected by the board of supervisors, and try to work out a rollout plan that's acceptable to each of you. I guarantee you in the long run it will be less expensive. I guarantee you. Thank you very much.
My name is Philip, with an F, Peralta. I wanted to present an alternative to this, and that is goats. And I have a website for you to look up, and it's CLEE at CaliforniaBountiful.com. And in this article, 2017, these two ladies live in Half Moon Bay, and they have contracts with the city and county of San Francisco, San Mateo, as far north as San Rafael, and they keep their animals, sheep and goats, in the cities controlled with dogs. And they are paying them very well. Southern California, and I'm sure that the Caltrans people down there know it as well, they can't find enough goats. They've been putting out contracts, keeping the goats out there for as long for this past year, to the point where goat theft has gone up. And they are, and that the whole idea is that it's cheaper than poisoning us. And as well, we can start eating sheep and goat meat. We have a twofold thing on it. Anyway, it's an alternative. And on that note, I'd actually like to. Yes, I think.
I believe Shasta County already does that. They have a program with goats there.
Yeah, there's not enough goats. There's not enough sheep around. What the key to it is dogs. Herding dogs. There's not enough, and they're big bucks. Anybody who wants to sell one, you can sell for $500 to $800 a piece. The dogs, but they will keep the animals at bay and intact in cities and around the streets and highways. I mean, there's this article will tell you.
Would you repeat the website, please?
CLEE CaliforniaBountiful.com. It's a magazine. This article is 2017, and I get the article date on this and give it to you in a minute. Thank you. But I'll get out of your way.
Yeah, Reading does it. SierraClub.org has information too about the goats.
And they eat poison oak?
They will eat poison oak, poison ivy.
Well, they will eat poison ivy and blackberries. They'll do it all. But I mean, that's why they have sheep and goats, because they do it faster and quicker. Someone just asked me a little while ago, well, how long would it take to do 1 acre? Well, it depends on what it is. If it's brambles, it'll take them a long time. But if it's just grass, like we see on the side of roads all the time, we're up and down, they'll go 5 acres an hour with 100 sheep or 100 animals. 1 dog.
And you can put up signs that say, beware of the sheep.
Got time for a couple more?
Are you guys in a position to carry these comments up your food chain to whoever supervises you to have this conversation and then come back to us with more information, such as schedule, chemicals to be used?
We'll take these back and check and of course digest all this and see what they have to say.
So can we expect another conversation prior to spring? Possibly. I'm sorry?
We'll have to get back with you on that.
So there is a possibility of no notification and spring because I will be contacting the lawyer about that. That's the chemical warfare on just so you know.
I was wondering if you guys are going to be, I'm sorry. I was just wondering if you guys are going to be filing any notice of exemption under CEQA for this activity, or if this activity is falling underneath existing EIR.
It's an existing EIR that's there.
Okay, so even though you haven't been in the county doing this activity in our county, it's a statewide EIR. Okay, so there's no notices of exemption going on. You're just gonna there's no public noticing under CEQA for this project.
Not for a project.
What was that?
Not outlined in the EIR. It would come with the labeling as
I'm just wondering if there's going to be a notice at anywhere, like the public, like the clerk's office or the state clearinghouse or anything like that in reference to this activity here.
Not with the maintenance activity. This is not a property. This is not a project. This is a maintenance activity.
So it's not a class 7 or 8 exemption. No.
It already has an EIR that's statewide.
I look forward to reading it because I know how water quality standards have changed over 30 years and how erosion control measures have changed over 30 years. And I think I heard you say that you were spraying to reduce the vegetation along the side of the roads and spots, which actually impacts erosion quite I just look forward to reading it. Is there a way you can provide us with the number, the state clearinghouse for that EIR?
I don't know at this time.
So if you could, I guess.
Have you read
it?
Vegetation. I don't know.
For that and send it to the office on the comment card.
To the Caltrans office?
Yeah. EIO office.
Thanks, I'll do that later.
All right, we are.
I'd like to address something. I don't know if anybody's brought this up tonight. There is new things happening in Trinity County, not this ridiculous spraying program.
We have other programs, agricultural programs. I own a parcel of land that has California State Highway 299, it's an easement through it. I'm also producing flowers that go through very stringent lab tests, parts per billion. They're looking for anything. Do you have anything planned that if, because this is a new program in Trinity County, this is really new. So I would really hope that you can address something like that. The impact of a farmer having a lab that goes bad because of your spraying program. I mean, I really, as a owner of a parcel, want a letter. I want to know what your EIR is, because you guys are going to drive right through my parcel and think you're going to spray my land? I got to know about it. And I want everybody here to know about it too.
Yeah.
This is serious. People are speaking about lawsuits and stuff. I just want to second that too, because you don't really know the whole ground that you're walking on right now. Thank you.
One last one.
My name's Tiffany Thurman, and I went to UC Davis as a graduate there. And sadly, it's now been kind of bought and paid for by Monsanto. So you stating that, you know, UC Davis does this great stuff, it's a questionable person. Anyway, one of the reasons why glyphosate is so awful, why does it make it like the worst chemical ever devised? Because it's built on the backbone of an amino acid. Like, an analogy would be, if you had to go to work and communicate, you know, what you need to say, you would use 26 letters in the alphabet. So if you suddenly didn't have 7 letters and you had to communicate, but you didn't have 7 of your letters to make millions of words, you would be at a severe disadvantage. So what glyphosate does, it's an amino acid, it's a poison put on an amino acid, and that allows it to bypass all of nature's natural defenses against a toxic poison. That's why it's so bad. And when it gets into us, it doesn't harm humans, but it harms our gut bacteria. We're like half of our body weight is bacteria and yeasts and fungi that help us digest our food and make everything that breaks down things to the amino acids, and then we use these amino acids to build everything in our body. Everything that happens is from that. And what glyphosate does is it stops 7 of those amino acids from being produced. So you can still kind of gimp along, but you don't have all your facilities to function normally. That's why glyphosate is so bad. So I just wanted you to know that, because I just learned that.
All right, well, we're pretty good overdue. I want to thank everybody for coming. Hopefully I captured comments. I've got plenty of pages, not quite enough to write a book. I would appreciate if I could talk to you afterwards. And then where's the B guy? There's the B guy too. Yeah. If I could talk to you. And I was wondering, I've never met the man, but I try to call him. He doesn't have cell phone service, and he emails me, and I'm horrible at computers. Is Adrian Keys around?
He's not here.
He's not here? Well, tell him I was hoping to talk to him. Okay. Okay, because there's other business we have. Thank you for coming tonight, and drive safe home, all right?
Did your agenda about
I got to skip the first round.
Yeah, let's make sure it didn't happen this time. Okay, good.